What's going on, guys? It's Ty the TV Guy here, back with a special video today with guest star Joe here.
What's up?
We're going to be chopping it up about Stranger Things 5, kind of giving our opinions on the whole first volume and what we think's to come. Before I get further in this video, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more Stranger Things content as we get the second and third volume on Christmas Day and New Year's Eve. All right, Joe, so we're just going to start out basic here. I just want to kind of see what you think of the first volume so far.
Honestly, I'm ecstatic. I know us Stranger Things fans, and for anyone who's been, waiting for this to come out, it's been a while.
Yeah.
And we all have high expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I would say my expectations were met. The first part, honestly, I would say like the first episode, I was kind of like a little confused. And I know others can be, because I know there was a first shadow play that was canon to the show, the Duffers said. But once it kind of like simmered out and like the second episode came, it kind of like clicked a little more, because we haven't seen these characters in so long. And it's like, wow, there's a lot going on. And they're kind of right into it like the Duffers said. So overall, though, the season, I love the ending. The ending was probably the best ending, I think, Stranger Things. At least the cliffhanger left on. I cannot wait for Volume 2 and the finale. And overall, this season has brought me laughter, joy, and shock. So I'm very excited for the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mostly agree. I will say, I feel like I liked the first episode personally better than the second episode. I kind of liked the first and third episodes, the mission, the crawl and the turnbow trap. I felt like both of those felt like very classic Stranger Things missions and setups, with everybody doing their little part within the operation. So I actually liked the crawl more than the vanishing of Holly Wheeler, even though the first scene in the vanishing of Holly Wheeler is really intense and great. After that, I feel like the episode, that episode is personally where I'm most confused. But I do agree that, overall the start was a little confusing and convoluted plot-wise, especially on first watch.
Yeah.
Obviously, I rewatched, and once you rewatch, you can connect all the dots a little better. But, yeah, I really liked the first volume. I mean, I'll get into, my pros and cons a little more specifically, of course, here. But, yeah, overall, really enjoyed it. Really entertaining, as always. Some things, like I said, that I'll get into, I think were a little lower quality than usual. But, overall, yeah, I mean, the shock value was great. Multiple moments. Spoiler warning, obviously, but it's been out for a couple weeks now. The big Max reveal at the end of episode 3, the Collie reveal, and then especially the willpower reveal, are some of the best reveals of the show, and they all happen within a span of one and a quarter episodes. So
100%.
Yeah, I think the highs are as high as ever. I think the lows are potentially as low as ever, though, too. So I'll get into talking about that.
That is true. I actually agree with that completely. And like you were saying, I would say also, too, this season, the visuals, everything, when they say this is the biggest season they ever filmed, I can see why so far, especially episode 4, The Sorcerer, the ending where Vecna comes out. I totally think that was probably top 3 Stranger Things scenes of all time, when he comes out saying, oh, I'm back, and then you got Will reveal, like he said, he has powers at the end, and I just think that part was just, it made me even more excited for this show.
Yeah. I agree, and it's I think it enters probably a top 5, top 3 scenes ever with running up that hill, and personally, I have Hopper's letter at the end of season 3 in that discussion, but yeah, it's definitely at that tier.
What I can say is this season I like also how our characters are, again, this feels like the most Stranger Things feeling ever. Our own characters have each group, and they're on different adventures, like Hopper and Elle, later in the season, and then you have Holly, there's another issue, then you got the Wheelers' parents, or the Wheelers, and they're in the hospital, then you got the kids, Vecna, Henry Krill, and then you have the base issue, and then we go to find out another big thing about the season is number 8 was revealed, and that was, I didn't know, but I had a theory that was going to happen, because I didn't really think they were going to have Vecna in there, because being realistic, I don't think humans can control Vecna, even with the sound thing. He's just that powerful. But when they revealed her, honestly, it makes sense, because 11 is not going to be able to do it on her own. And now that Will has powers, there's even more help there too. He's like, spy. Bad spy because he can be used, but also a good spy because he can help the heroes. So I'm very interested of what's going to happen with our heroes.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I think that was something, you always knew going into the season. Like, 11's going to need some help. It's just a matter of where it comes from and how they get to that point. Exactly. And as far as getting to that point, I don't think they could have done much of a better job in terms of the reveals. I mean, they were both just absolutely epic. And, Kali, I honestly like the swing taken by the Duffer Brothers. I mean, I think it's a bold move because most people don't like the Lost Sister episode that she was in. Even though I'm not as low on it as everybody else, but that's a topic for another day. Really?
I agree right there. It's a little overhated.
I agree. It's really not that bad, but we'll leave that for another day. But yeah, I think that bringing her back in is kind of necessary to maybe, show some fans that they can tie up this one loose end that's been dangling out there all this time. Because I do agree that maybe if they didn't bring her back, then it is an outlier episode. But now there's more to uncover about, why she's in that underground lab, why they wanted her there. I mean, I guess it was to combat 11's powers mostly. That's the concept behind it, right?
Yeah, and there's actually a theory. There's a theory out there, and I actually do believe this theory because I've been thinking about this ever since season 4. And it was like a weird theory because we haven't seen 8 since season 2, and we thought she was kind of a goner for sure. But whenever they were playing D&D, they roll 11. It doesn't beat Vecna, but they roll an 8. They roll a 20 to beat Vecna, and that's the roll. But 11 plus 9, because people are like, oh, not 9, but 11 plus 8, people are like, oh, if they have 8, that's only 19. And then there's the plus 1. So my theory is I knew number 8 was going to have to come back because she's alive. They're going to need all the help they can get. But number 1, now this is a good theory. Now that Will has powers, Will could be the number 1 that they need. But also, number 1 is Henry Krill, a.k.a. Vecna. So is there going to be a little switch up? I don't know.
See, that's something I wouldn't be a fan of personally. But I know that you were talking about the play earlier, I think, a little bit. And I think some of that background, which I haven't seen the play or really read a full summary, but some of that background leads people to believe that Henry or Vecna may not be the ultimate bad evil. And it might be a little more complicated than that. Yeah. I'm personally not. I hope that's not the way it goes. I don't know. He's been built up as
the big bad.
Yeah, the big bad. We haven't seen the Mind Flayer for so long. I feel like it wouldn't be fitting, and I don't, as a fan, want a redemption for Vecna whatsoever. It's not something I'm seeking. So
because that's more of a Darth Vader aspect. Because I know the Duffers are a fan of that, and then there is also Wrinkle of Time that they talked about. So there could be. If anyone's ever watched Avengers Endgame, I'm not saying they're going to go back in time, but they did say there is a key thing of the season is time. So I don't really know how this is going to work, but again, what he said, I think 2 things are going to happen. The theory that we just talked about, or Vecna is the big bad, and he's going to use the Mind Flayer as a weapon. So those 2 are together. The Shadow Monster, Vecna. So either Vecna's the big bad or Vecna will have an arc, which I don't know yet because there isn't really anything indicating it super much so far.
Nothing in the show.
Yeah,
the play may indicate it.
The play, there was some things that indicated it. Yeah. Now, there was also this theory that I had that Vecna is the big bad guy, and he's the general, as Dustin said in number 4, and the Mind Flayer is the big bad. And the song Master of Puppets, it kind of all makes sense that there's going to be one ultimate villain who's been playing the game the whole time. And there is things that indicate this. The Mind Flayer it's been around forever. Vecna found it. But the weird thing about this is the Mind Flayer using Vecna to do the work that it needs to get into the real world to take it over? And is the Mind Flayer going to betray Vecna? That's the question. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's another thing that I would not be surprised if it happens.
Yeah. I like all your theories here. One of my big things though is like, do they have enough time to do all this? I mean, there's only 4 episodes left. It's like I realize it'll only be one of these things you're talking about, but still, it's like if they were to build something up like you were just talking about, like that seems like that would require a lot of build up and complicated storyline explanation. I don't know if they have enough time for that type of stuff.
And that's the thing. There's only so much, like you said, episodes left.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if they're going to give us, like, an hour and a half episode each next volume, I mean, by all means.
They could squeeze it into that, I suppose.
They could surprise us, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping they do because I like the longer episodes, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to ask you, but I'm going to give because, we started off on a high note here talking about what we liked a little bit and some of our thoughts moving forward. I'm going to give some of my complaints. I want to see if you agree or disagree with some of these. So it might take me a minute to get through them. I surprisingly do have a decent amount. So the way I would describe this is that, like, my first watch through, I was just, like, so grateful to be getting new Stranger Things content that I think I was a little blind to any negatives. But, of course, as, like, the analytical person I am, I have this channel, of course. I came back with my second rewatch, and I had a little bit more of my thinking cap on, was being a little more critical. And I do think that, this is kind of a generic blanket statement, but I do think one of the main things is that the writing, specifically for the dialogue, I think the plot writing is still good, but the dialogue between some of our favorite characters, I think, has been weaker than any season, probably. I think that, some of the lower stakes moments or some of the relationship type conversations have just been weaker. I think there's been some corny lines or like everything just needs to feel like this big catchphrase or something, or this big moment, and it doesn't feel as grounded and personal as it maybe has in past seasons. Even a season like season 4 where things are like as grand and large almost as they are in season 5, I feel like you still got those really good grounded moments and personal conversations between our characters, and I just feel like that's lacking this season. I mean, we don't get them as much, and when we do, they just don't feel true to our characters. The chemistry doesn't seem to be there as much with the actors, and maybe that's a result of the big break they had to take. Now, in some moments, I think it's still great, obviously, but I'm talking broadly here. A couple specific examples of that, in my opinion, are with Hopper and Eleven. I thought their chemistry was underwhelming this season. I think I've still enjoyed a lot of David Harbour's like solo work, and when he kind of takes a spotlight in a scene, I think I've loved it, but I don't know. I don't feel like Millie's brought her A game, and that's something I'm hoping steps up in the second part. And I don't think it's all her fault, though. I do think some of just her script hasn't been great. And then, yeah, just other interpersonal moments. The main pairing that I do like is Robin and Will. I think all their dialogue has been moving, has been good to progress their character arcs, and has felt true to what the characters should be. The Dustin and Steve thing, I get it. I get the arc they're putting Dustin on. I think it's fitting. He's grieving. I just think maybe it's lasted a little too long here.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you respond to that first about the writing and some of the dialogue being maybe a little weaker than other seasons.
So my thoughts on this season is I actually agree with that. I think I'm very enjoyable, like you said. We've been waiting so long, so I'm not gonna be like, oh my goodness, but at the same time, compared to seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, I feel like there has been some missing chemistry between some of our characters that we most love. And when you said about Dustin and Steve, that's one thing that I noticed. I know our character's grieving, but it's kind of like Steve did something to Dustin, and it's like a grudge. But Steve's kind of giving me old season 1 vibes a little bit. And I'm just like, what's happening here? Because all these characters have gone through so much trauma together. You would think they're closer than ever. But one good note is Robin and Will. Yeah. I do like seeing that. But even with all of our other characters, Nancy, Jonathan, and Steve and Nancy, it just feels like, especially when Steve and Jonathan were racing up the tower, I'm just like, what the heck?
It felt unnecessary for where we're at in the show, for sure.
Exactly. And part of me feels like sometimes they kind of drag certain characters' dialogue out because, I don't know, in the past that happens, and those characters kind of, die. But we'll see this season. I hope, I don't know, maybe it was just a refresher, but I hope in the next volume they bring a lot more. I do feel like it's going to be a lot more emotional
Yeah.
and it's going to be way different because I feel like the next 3 episodes are going to show a lot, answer a lot, and I do feel like there's going to be a big death, but I don't know.
Yep, I agree. So getting into another one of my negatives. Once again, we'll get back to the positives here, but I wanna kind of cushion it in between positive, negative,
Yes.
and then positive. My other negative, main negative, is kind of some of the longer and more convoluted explanations of random things to us. And to be more specific, some of the exposition, specifically with Max in her dream, she's in like not dream world, she's in Vecna or Henry's memory at this point. I think that's our best understanding of it.
Yeah.
Right, she says she's in a memory within 1,000 memories, and I just feel like her whole, all the screen time she gets there, all she's doing the entire time is explaining all this random stuff that's kind of hard to understand to a character that, no offense to Holly, I'm not that connected to and don't care that much about. So, you know, they brought Max back, which I thought was a bold decision. And to be honest, so far, I thought they would have a little bit of a greater purpose for her. Now, once again, I think Volume 2 and 3 are going to be awesome. It's going to be so rewarding to see Max break out of that coma, which I think is inevitable.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, you know, for what we have so far, I can't say I love it. And I think it just, I don't know. It's like, was this worth bringing Max back for? That's one example of just like extensive exposition or explaining of things straight to us that I think I'd rather like show me, don't tell me a little more so. And there's other instances of this with Robin at the beginning of the season over the radio, which I actually did like the use of her in that role. But I just think it was kind of obviously done because they needed a way to explain things to us.
Yeah.
And I think they did that part in a creative way. Do you know what I'm trying to get at here, though? I just feel like there's a lot of different parts throughout Volume 1
That are
where
extended, which didn't really need to be
Yeah.
extended. No, I completely agree with the Holly thing too. I feel like the only like reasonable thing I can like think of why they like, I guess, made Holly more of a main character and had Max explain things was in D&D, Holly the Heroic, and Mike gave her that little figure, and I knew right there that was a sign that she is going to play a bigger part in this season, which I'm like, and if you look into that character, she has the ability to open portals, which it's like, and when she was running through the woods, it was kind of like, remind me of almost Alice in the Wonderland, but the one thing I do know is that she's with Max, and now that she knows more, and Henry Krill talked to her in his like dream manipulation, showing her what's not actually there. But I feel like she's going to play a role, as in she is going to be the way Max gets out somehow, and maybe if the other kids, because as we know, she's in whatever we saw with all those other kids with the. I think it's the Mind Flayer contraption on their mouth, just like you saw Will in like the first season, the other seasons. I don't know where they're at, but it looked like there was teeth in there. But wherever those kids are at, they are being held hostage in that layer, but she's still conscious enough that she's in Henry Krill's like head. So to escape that, my question is, Max said she's physically there, but in her actual body, she's Max. See, Max is different. She's not held captive. She's in the hospital. Right. She can escape. Holly is going to have to physically escape. So I don't know how they're gonna.
So you're saying there's like another layer to Holly because she has to physically and mentally escape? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
because she was taken into the Upside Down.
I feel
too?
like she's gonna play like a bigger role. I don't exactly know what. I feel like she is gonna play a big role where she might be the way like. I'm not sure though, because she is in that layer, which again I think it's the Mind Flayers. I don't know what it is, but we'll learn more about that in Volume 3, I'm sure, or Volume 2, I'm sure of. But for now, I do feel like she has a big role because Mike gave her that character, and there's got to be something more to it.
I agree. And while we're on that topic here, Lucas said something in episode 2, I believe it was, that I thought was interesting in the hospital. He said, he was talking to Nancy and Mike, and he was saying how, you know, if this was about suffering for your family, why wouldn't Vecna have just killed your parents outright? And then he says something about how it's like, similar times of year that Holly and Will got taken. Holly, it's November 3rd. Will got taken November 6th, 4 years ago. And so Lucas was kind of drawing those parallels. They didn't dive all the way deep into that. There wasn't much more that he explored there. But I feel like his dialogue there was implanted for a reason. And there's going to be some type of parallel drawn. Other than, obviously there is a parallel because there's 2 episodes in the show and 2 events in the show that are the vanishing of Will Byers, the vanishing of Holly Wheeler.
Yeah.
But I feel like there might be some connection between the 2 of those characters that we might not know. Even if it's not like Will and Holly like directly connecting, like something similar about them that makes them targeted by.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's an interesting aspect of this. Like, what's similar about Holly to Will, which I don't know. I haven't fully thought of, but
that is a good thing. And what makes me think this is, this might lead into like another theory, but to start with this is, like he said, I do feel like there is a connection. I do feel like we're gonna get, because there's a lot of unanswered things. That's one thing about the season. There's like 5 main things that like I'm just like, oh my goodness, like what's gonna happen next, and because I'm all over the place with this season. And it's very overwhelming, but
yeah, one
of the main things I'm curious about is, like you said, why was Holly chosen? Why was Will chosen? I think it has to do with this might be a stretch, but like when Vecna was a little kid, he wasn't meant to be there. He was probably an outcast of a kid. And as you can see with Will when he was younger, he was very creative. I feel like maybe the more creative kids might be more targeted because they have more energy, brain power. I don't know. Or they could just be random kids that so happen to be very vulnerable and weak, and they're the softest.
Yeah.
And that's what Henry went after. Mm-hmm. And
I feel like you'd hope it's more than that, though.
I agree.
For the purpose of this being an interesting plot, I'd hope it's more than like a random selection,
kids.
kind of. So
here's a theory that's like, I think it was episode 2 in the first volume. Teacher's back. Every season, teacher shows like in season 1 the wormhole.
Oh, you're talking about Mr. Clark?
Yeah, Mr. Clark. That's it. And Mr. Clark's theories usually explain like what's going to happen or like something that correlates to the future. Mm-hmm. But one thing Clark said that was very unique was the wormhole. And on his like the drawing and the thing he had up in class, when Erica saw it, he was explaining it. Now, in the end of the season, you see Will paint on the barn something that looks like the Mind Flayer. But there's 12 inserts that I think Vecna is trying to get 12 kids, because what's going to happen is I think he needs the 12 kids, and this wormhole needs enough energy that these 12 kids are going to produce that, so the Mind Flayer can physically use those 12 kids to get into the real world and take physical form. Because to have something, or open a mother portal, I guess, like a portal that cannot be shut.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot to unpack. And I agree with your point that like
there's like
so many questions. Like people had so many questions coming into the season. I feel like they've like tripled that. Whereas I thought like this season would be more about answering questions, but obviously I think we're going to get into that portion of things here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an interesting theory. I don't know if I can wrap my head around all that.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the key questions from Volume 1. Why does Vecna want all these additional kids? I realize he tells Will kind of a pretty basic statement that like, kids are weak and easy to reshape, and
they belong in my mind.
Yeah. Some people belong up here more than they do out here and whatever. But like once again, I feel like there needs to be more of an explanation to that. Whether it'll be as complicated as what you just said, maybe not.
And like,
but
what was it? If this makes it easier to think about, like in season 4, he needed kills to create amount of energy to rip a fathom between the upside down and the real world. I think he's gonna need the same thing for the 12 kids, because kids are more powerful. As what I'm guessing, I think the kids are more, like you said, vulnerable and easy to break. And he needs that. So whatever he's going to do, I'm not sure if he's going to kill. I don't think he would kill the kids, but again, Vecna needs, if he killed to get what he needs, I feel like he's going to need those 12 kids to sacrifice to literally, I don't know, opening up, I guess. I mean, they already opened up a Mother Gate, I guess, or there has been a Mother Gate, but I'm talking sending something really big into the real world, which I don't know. We're going to see.
Yeah. Maybe the world will be changed forever from that. Or maybe our characters will be able to still close that somehow. Interesting, kind of off topic, kind of on topic here. Was Derek, do you remember if Derek was ultimately taken into the Upside Down? Because I feel like that got lost in that whole final sequence of
He was not.
He didn't get dragged
Nope.
down? Because I know the kids that were with Lucas got taken. He couldn't save them, obviously. Not his fault, but
I
they
think-
got dragged.
Actually, now that I
into a
think
portal.
about it, I'm like trying to think. I don't think he did, or they didn't show it because Derek was with Mike and them running,
Right.
and then the explosion happened.
Yeah. I'm not too sure, what happened within that, but that was just something I was wondering and thinking about, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure because then Will wakes up, has powers, but they took. I remember the Demogorgons. They took certain kids,
Mhm.
but I don't remember seeing Derek one of them.
Yeah, that's something we'll have to brush up on here. But the next thing I was thinking of that I wanted to bring up here, this can be like a segment called like random connections that probably aren't real. But there's two things in particular that I've seen a connection between that I think are really interesting, and you seem pretty big into the theories here. So I want to see if
Ooh,
you think there
let's
could be
hear it.
anything to these. And I don't even know if you're going to remember like both these things I'm talking about, but we'll see. So the first is that, across from the Creel house, how there's that like rocket ship shaped like play thingy that
Yes.
Erica was in season 4, flashing
Yes.
the light. She like slides down the slide with it. Flashing back to season 2, which before this season the Duffer Brothers made clear was maybe the most important in understanding the events of season 5. Flashing back to season 2 when they have Will in the shed and kind of trying to show him all of his memories to snap him out of the possession he's under.
Yeah.
One of the things that his mom shows him is like this rocket ship that he drew. And it looks very similar
I
to
remember that, yeah.
to that rocket ship that you see across from the Creel house. And of course now Holly is at the Creel house, and so once again trying to draw this connection between the two of them. Obviously I feel like that's a stretch, but it is kind of coincidental.
That is a good thought. I actually never thought about that.
Mm.
That would be actually crazy
Yeah,
if they
for
pulled
real.
like.
But I don't know what it would mean
But
yeah.
you know what? Anything's possible with the Duffers because one thing I noticed about them is they're brilliant writers and there is little things that they're geniuses that we'll put in there to indicate how everything is. And honestly, for everything back on season 2, this is just like a little off topic, but I will say this. It is probably, my opinion, one of the most overhated seasons.
Facts.
And I actually loved it.
It's
Like,
my favorite season.
I would say before 4, it would
Yeah.
be 4-2, and then it was 1-3 for me. But I enjoyed I just think it opened up a different feeling.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah. I mean, my favorite 2 are 2 and 4 as well. I have it 2, then 4, then 1, then 3. I just think, some people think 2 is like a worse version of 1. But
Yeah.
I personally think like the buildup of the monster and actually having Will on screen and possessed is a better version and more interesting to me. Slightly.
We get
I
this-
like all of them. But.
Exactly. We get to see the Mind Flayer because, again, that was the Mind Flayer coming in, and we got to see how scary that thing was. And we haven't seen it really. We've seen it since in like little bits of it, but I really think that the Mind Flayer is going to come in season 5, and
Has to.
it's gonna be big.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. The other thing that I had a connection between is kind of a similar thing. It's when, this is a very specific moment, so I'm not going to hold this against you if you don't remember this specific moment, but
Right.
when Elle is kind of thinking about how to get back to Hawkins at the end of season 4
Yeah.
in the last episode, she looks up at this billboard, and there's a family of 4, and that's where she gets the idea for the piggyback, because I believe the father's giving one of the kids a piggyback in the billboard. And then the background of this billboard looks exactly like the desert and like canyon type background that Max is in her dream
Henry's
world.
Dream.
And yeah, so it looks very similar. And the interesting part is on that billboard, there's a family of 4, a father, a mother, a son, and a daughter, just like the Creel family.
Oh my! Wait a second.
It's pretty crazy.
Because not to like bring up the first shadow, but they lived I don't want to be wrong. It was either Colorado or Nevada,
Yeah.
but that was where Henry used to play.
I feel like that's at least an Easter egg, if not meaning more.
Honestly, that's a great thing. Now that you just said that, that's actually crazy. That has to be a coincidence. There's no way.
Probably, but I'll throw the picture up here for all of you to see. But yeah, it's pretty wild. I noticed that when I was rewatching, and I was like, oh my gosh, this looks exactly like that. And then, yeah. So I don't know if that's gonna mean anything.
Well,
it's hard to connect all these dots, but
there's a lot of dots that aren't connected. But I think even the Duffer said, like, Volume 2, I think everything will be answered. Because I think that's what's going to happen. Volume 2 is going to be like all the questions are answered. Volume 1 will be the final battle.
Yeah.
And I think there's no trailers yet. I think we're going to get a trailer soon.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
I don't even want a trailer, honestly. I don't want to see anything.
Like, I like not knowing literally anything and not be able to like drag something up, because going to the season, I was like, I can't find anything.
Yeah.
And I like how they don't show anything.
Yeah.
And people might say it's bad marketing, but they definitely know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought, speaking of marketing, I thought it was interesting they chose to release them on the holidays, but you see the first one did best, any English language show has ever done on Netflix.
Yeah.
I think outside of Squid Game's the best of any language. So that was interesting.
It's going to smash even more records, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. So getting in to the next topic here. We talked about it briefly. We made another short, so you guys can go check that video out as well. But do want to talk about the characters here at large. I know I talked about a couple negatives with the characters, but I want to talk about the positive with the characters. Overall, like, who were some of your favorite characters outside of the obvious ones of, Will revealing his powers and stuff like that? Maybe what were some of your favorite character moments, stuff like that?
I would say definitely one of my other favorite. Oh, okay. So I liked when Eleven was with the sound wave machines, I think they were, and they were like, messing with their head. We got to see like what kind of weaknesses 11 has.
Yeah.
And whenever she was fighting the general, I like that she couldn't use her powers and she literally had to fight physically. Like with no powers.
You're talking about Dr. K?
Yeah, Dr. K.
When Hopper was getting strangled?
Yeah, by a part of not a vine, but the upside down, whatever that was.
Yeah.
Tentacle, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But that was, honestly, I like that scene because I was a little worried for Hop.
Yeah. And the scene that follows that, to piggyback off that, no pun intended, but piggyback, but to piggyback off that, the scene that follows it where he, 11 discovers he has the bomb strapped to his chest. I figured they weren't killing him right middle of the season, but it was good tension. And when he said like "I love you, Jane," I was like, oh.
I was like, I thought we were cooked. Yeah.
Despite that, I complained earlier about them not having great chemistry. That scene in particular was great. Yeah, so that was awesome.
That was one of my favorite moments, probably.
Yeah, for sure. Who do you think was like your favorite character to this volume? I
mean, Will did have a very good character arc, and he is supposed to be the main character like of this season. I like Mike's character this season, I really do. It might be Mike just because he's taking a leadership role, and I'm kind of seeing more of like the heroic side, the heart, referencing Will's painting with the 3-headed dragon, with all 4 boys, and Mike being the leader and the fearless one. And we get to see a lot of that. And I know Nancy, this like correlates, but Nancy being heroic too. The Wheelers are brave, it seems like, so that's a fun thing to do. But I like Mike this season. I think his chemistry with all the characters is going to be good. And I do think he's going to have maybe a near-death experience. I really do think we're going to see that. But I don't think he's going to die. But I do think we're going to get more of a attention seeker for sure out of him.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see. But this season so far, Mike has been... I like his character a lot.
Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, my favorite couple of characters are the ones you mentioned there. They're my 1 and 2. Will and Mike. Obviously, Will, I just feel like on so many levels, the powers is satisfying for his character. A character who throughout all the seasons has kind of had to rely on the rest of the group to save him and to be his strength. Yeah. And now he can be that not only for himself, but for them in return. And so I think that's kind of nice that he gets to finally take on that role. And just a character that's felt so like stepped on to a degree, both emotionally and physically throughout all the seasons. He now has power, essentially. So on top of just having some epic scenes, his character arc, both with like, the stuff with him and Robin and with getting those powers, has been really satisfying. And I think the acting's been a lot better for him too. I thought 3 and 4, Noah Schnapp was a little shaky, but I think it's been solid this season. I still don't think he's the best actor in the show, but really good stuff.
I agree. And you know what? But speaking back on Will, I honestly think one of the best scenes in this volume was when Will had to reach deep and when he was getting his powers, thinking of the memories. And this was this actually like almost gives me chills just thinking about it. In the game D&D, Will the Wise, Will the Wizard, he's always been portrayed as, he's the wizard. And it's very like, it's leading up to what happens in the future. And I love that it shows him as a little kid going like this, the last scene. Yeah. And that right there was just,
That was cool. Yeah, I mean, how they intertwined all of that, like the Robin speech to him and then the flashbacks of him as the little Will the Wise.
Yeah.
And, he just was face-to-face with Vecna and then kind of summoned his powers. Oh, it all culminated so perfectly. So it's hard not to say Will is one of the best characters. I also agree with Mike for many of the same reasons you said. I think Robin, her relationship with Will, not that she's only good with Will, but they do spend a lot of time together this season. And,
oh, yeah, they do.
Yeah. And as always, she makes super important discoveries and stuff. Definitely underrated in terms of like being one of the smartest characters in the show. And then I really did love Hopper. It's weird because, I think honestly for me, like Eleven's dragging their duo down a little more. I don't mean to like continue to talk about that, but I did like Hopper individually. And I feel like scenes where he was more the lead, like when they were interrogating that soldier in the back of that bus in the Upside Down, I really liked him there. That was like intense. I really like some of his other emotional deliveries of lines and stuff. I just am hoping that their dynamic gets a little better in Volume 2 and that they rejoin the rest of the group because they were down there for a long time.
They were. Yeah. Most of the season. Yeah. Literally, they're like...
the whole thing, basically.
And now they're going to be in there for even longer because they found 8. So Hopper probably has an idea. It's another one of the children that, were tested on. But 11 knows exactly who that is. So
right. Exactly.
I think it's going to be cool seeing those two. I really want to see... it's kind of going to give me an Avengers Endgame vibe. I want to see Elle... I want to see the whole gang get together facing Vecna and his army, whatever is coming. And we got to remember this too, reaching back on like visions from season 4, when Vecna shows Nancy everything. The one thing that I don't think we saw yet was the creature with the gaping mouth.
Right.
I think that's going to be the Mind Flayer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's, either, a Return of the Mind Flayer or Return of the Mind Flayer and another creature, the 3-headed dragon that Will draws, or this gaping mouth could be the Mind Flayer, could be another creature.
Thessal Hydra.
Thessal Hydra, yep. So there's going to be something like that. And yeah, I am still waiting, and I realize it's going to be in the last couple episodes, but I am waiting for the final showdown where we get like all the heroes versus all the villains. I think it has to be coming at some point. Like the season 4 finale, I honestly expected like the Vecna 11 fight to like go on a little longer, but it was basically just Vecna overpowered her real quick.
And they gave us like, it made me the worst cliffhanger. It was a great cliffhanger, but worst feeling because we had to wait so long. But the ending of season 4 with that big red cloud, oh my goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's another important topic. We could go all day with this stuff, but what do you think about that? You mentioned, they see at the end of season 4 on that hillside, they're looking onto the town. It's like, it's being overtaken by the Upside Down to a degree. Now, I know the military moved in and took action on that, and that's a big part of the explanation. Plus, Vecna was taking time to heal and recover from the damage they did to him.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the explanation for, how that was covered up? Because that's another big complaint I've seen online. Like,
I agree.
They built the stakes so high at the end of season 4, and then you start season 5, and it's all the way back down here again.
It's like normal life. Like, nothing ever happened.
They just patched it up with these big metal plates.
And realistically, back in, like, the time frame they're in, I feel like to an extent, it's realistic because if something like that happened in, say, today's reality, people are going to cover it up. Like, that's the whole point. I think the Duffers were trying to show people that they wanted to continue, and it was just a earthquake. But realistically, the U.S. military knows, like, what's going on.
Right.
They just don't want anyone being there. So they said, oh, let's cover it up with a bunch of big metal shards, it looked like. So basically, it was just saying, oh, there's no other, like, creatures coming out. And realistically, though, you're going to question it. I mean, if that happened in person, it's, like, a little questionable, but I think people know what's going on, but at the same time, they just like normal. When there's a problem in the world that's crazy, you don't want everyone to freak out. So what do? Shush.
Right, yeah. You don't want chaos. And I think especially back then, you know, the whole 80s thing probably helps them a little bit in this, like you kind of mentioned there, because, you know, they have a couple news stations to watch. They watch whatever the news says, and then what it says is kind of the truth, at least how they have to take things. You know, there's not a million people on TikTok with POV videos of
different time frame.
There's Vecna. I saw Vecna myself, so I know this is, you know, there's no phones or whatever, so it makes sense in a way, but I feel like it maybe was a little bit of a letdown with like how high the stakes felt.
Yeah.
And, you know, they described that the season would, you know, start with, you know, hitting the ground running this season, which they did. I mean, within the first 20 minutes of the first episode, there's multiple characters saying maybe tonight will be the night we get Vecna. So it's like, you know, they are on the mission right away, but I guess it didn't feel quite as like intense and climactic right away as we might have thought.
Yeah,
but
I was expecting to see clouds everywhere, red lightning coming up. I was like, oh, wow, we're really going to get into it. But they kind of just said, psych.
Yeah, so.
We might see that in the next volume or the finale.
I hope so.
I do, too. I want to see some, like, crazy stuff happen.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I want to get into something now here, one of our last things here. Maybe. We'll see. I want to do a little bit of this or that with you. I think it's going to be mostly relationship stuff, but we'll see what I cook up here.
Ooh, okay.
I'm sure you're familiar with these. We'll start out with, are you in favor of Jonathan and Nancy together? Jonathan and Steve. Jonathan and Nancy? Nancy and Steve? Or do you think neither or one of them's going to die? How do you think that's going to resolve, and which couple do you prefer?
All right, so just flat out, I think Jonathan and Nancy should be together. It just, the character build up throughout, it just works perfectly. And then the other thing is with Steve, season 4 they kind of throw us in a loop because, you know, he tells Nancy how he feels, and basically he's like saying, like, you know, I've never loved anyone else. You're like my true love. And it kind of makes you like feel sympathy, and it's like, yeah, I think Steve deserved what he wants because, you know, he's been there the whole time for her. And yeah, he was a bit of a douche. He was a douche in the first season, but he had one of the best character arcs I've ever seen. Yeah. But again, unfortunately, there's a little theory out there that scares me that Jonathan, you know, I feel like Steve's going to find out Jonathan's plan, and he's going to realize, like, he loves Nancy, so he's going to be like, I want her to be happy. If she's happy, I'm happy. But I could see himself sacrificing himself, saving Jonathan or Nancy. There is a chance, and I hope he really doesn't die, but that's one theory. I don't know if I'm going to believe that, but I think Jonathan and Nancy, though, I mean, in season 2, it just shows, like, that's Nancy's person. And even she says, you know, Murray saying, we like Steve, we don't love Steve. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I would agree. I don't know that, like what's the more exciting couple to me? Probably, like, Steve and Nancy, but what's probably more fitting for the story, Jonathan and Nancy, even though they have significantly grown apart the past couple seasons.
Yeah.
Some of that was as a result of him just living far away and everything, and I understand him wanting to, before all this stuff changed and they moved back to Hawkins, thinking, like, I need to stay here to protect my mom and my brother and be there for them, and it's just not the right move for me to go to college with her. But yeah, their relationship hasn't been super strong, but I just don't know that it's, narratively makes sense to bring Steve and Nancy back together either. But yeah, I definitely think, unfortunately, like, a resolution to this whole thing, though, inevitably might just be that Jonathan or Steve is going to die.
I have a feeling one of them is going to die.
Yeah, to me, it's almost like 100% that one of them dies. Obviously not both, but I mean, Jonathan, you know, planning to engage, that could be a heartbreaking twist if he dies. Steve, the point you made is actually a good point. I was gonna get more into the deaths later, but yeah, we can maybe talk about that a little later. My other this or that for you that I have right now, I'm sure you might know what I'm gonna say here. The popular ship online is between Mike
Byler.
Yeah, Mike and Will.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that? Does it make sense for the story?
So I know there's a crazy fan base for Byler, and my thought is, there's a lot of people like, oh, that'd be stupid, I'm gonna stop watching the show, or oh yes, I want it to happen. If it doesn't happen, I'm gonna stop watching. Like, here's my complete thought. I feel like it's so unnecessary. Here's what I think. I think Will does love Mike, but I feel like Robin's speech. I feel like if Will just truthfully comes out and just is himself and shows everyone that's like how he is, I feel like it will be a weight lifted, and I do feel like Mike is his strength, and I think 11 and Mike's thing is like that's their thing, and I think Will's not going to pursue that. I mean, maybe there's something where like if 11 dies, we get an unanswered story, but I feel like Mike and 11 are good the way they are. But there are some things that like hints it, but at the same time, I feel like Mike's more of a strength, and Robin is what Will needed to hear. And I feel like Robin relates to Will out of anyone because, she goes through the same thing. And I do think if they do get together, I'll be a little surprised. There's signs that like in the field when Will was punching Mike, but
yeah, but see, to me that scene looked more so like Mike was not really into it. Like,
yeah,
Will was trying to he was testing the waters, being playful with Mike, and Mike was like, and he kind of walked away. To me, that almost pointed in the opposite direction, that it was a little awkward.
Exactly.
But...
I don't think it's gonna happen. Yeah, he might lay with Mike, and there's some gay attributes that it shows hey, my feelings, but I just see Mike as a strength. I don't think they're gonna get together.
Yeah.
I just don't think it would correlate to the story.
Yeah. Yeah, I made a Byler 11 video a while ago because I knew it was a hot topic among the fan base, and it is crazy how polarizing it is. It's really not that serious of a thing that people should be arguing about. Obviously, it's just a TV show at the end of the day. But what I will say about it is I kind of feel similar to you in the fact that I don't think it would make a lot of sense for the storyline. Mike and 11 have been together basically since the beginning of the show.
Exactly.
I know in my prior video I said love at first sight, and people were like, oh, it wasn't first sight. They didn't start dating until... But I was like, come on. I mean, the events of season 1 happened in the span of a few days, and they're kissing by the end of season 1. And he calls her pretty in episode 4. They liked each other pretty quick. Let's put it that way. And they've been together throughout the whole show. The Duffer Brothers have had multiple opportunities to have them break up. Season 3, Elle dumps him. Mike wins her back. He wants her back. Season 4, they're having relationship turmoil. 11 gets taken away. Mike and the crew come for her to save her. And he delivers the I love you speech in the most climactic moment of season 4. Why would they build it up for him to make that speech in such a grand moment if it wasn't super meaningful in leading them to the promised land? So
yep, I completely agree. People forget about that Mike literally that's their story, and it makes sense. And I don't think Will would engage, because in the car, as you see Will give Mike that painting, he cries because he he loves Mike, but I feel like once he comes out and accepts that he can love Mike and he doesn't need to be with him, he's his best friend.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know. I do have mixed feelings about that. I think he still might profess his love to Mike. There still might be a scene like that.
I think he will.
Yeah, but I just...
Now there's something in me that says, if Will does, I could see Will sacrifice. If he's connected to all this, if everything goes at the end, I could see Will sacrificing himself. And imagine if he sacrificed himself to save 11. Wouldn't that be a twist?
Yeah. They're all tight at this point. Will and 11, lived together for a while in California, and obviously are just friends from the events of the show. So, they're close too. It would fit. Obviously, the Millie and Noah in real life are best friends too. So I'm sure they would have been a fan of saving each other in the final scenes. So Oh yeah, it could go so many different directions here.
My brain just hurts thinking about like what's gonna happen. I mean, we're 2 weeks away, so
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I want to get into the final little discussion here where we've already talked a lot about it. We've done a lot of theorizing, but just a couple important topics to cover for the end of the show here and what you're kind of feeling. The first is just, we've kind of talked about it through other topics, but character deaths. I will say, my prediction at the beginning of the season was that there'd be 3 main character deaths.
yeah.
Main character for me is anyone like Erica, Murray, or above, like that level of screen time and involvement or higher. Like Ted Wheeler isn't a main character to me, so if he would have died, that wouldn't be in this calculation. But I predicted 3 main characters would die, and I thought it would be Murray, Jonathan, and 11. That was my prediction before Volume 1. After seeing Volume 1, I still feel very confident in that, to be honest. At least Jonathan and 11. I feel like Murray has the perfect arc to kill off, and he doesn't have a lot of connections outside the group, so it would make sense to kill him off in that aspect. But I don't know. I'm not getting the vibe that they might kill off that many characters. I'm thinking it might only be 1 or 2, surprisingly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think about it? I mean, I thought Murray was 100% a goner, but I thought he might honestly go in Volume 1, and he's still perfectly fine, and honestly hasn't had a crazy level of involvement, so maybe it won't even hit hard enough to kill him. I don't know.
I feel like I agree with you. Before Volume 1, for me, it was Jonathan, 11, and it was actually Jonathan, 11, and not all together, but Steve.
Yeah, like you thought he had very likely as well. Yeah.
But another character I could say would, not Jim, not Max, obviously. I think those have been passed.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna kill Joyce.
No.
I have I would say like a side. Now people were saying Robin, which I don't think so.
Nah, I also don't think so.
But after going back to after watching Volume 1, so here's my thoughts. I feel like it's going to be 11 or Will. But again, here's the complicated part. You think of 11, she's been fighting her whole life. She deserves a happy ending. But you think of Will, he literally got taken as a kid, and
there's no good choice there.
There's no good choice there, and it's sad either way. Now, it would be devastating because Noah Schnapp, way long time ago, was people are going to be devastated. If Will and 11 die, I would together.
Yeah.
That would definitely be that'd be different.
Yeah.
I do think there's going to be a death that no one's expecting.
Yeah.
I don't know who it's going to be, but I do think we're going to see a random death.
I agree. I mean, yeah, I feel like most of because I don't want to act like I'm aficionado here. I do feel like most of the predictions are 11, Will, Jonathan, Steve, Murray, maybe a wild card here and there. To me, yeah, I think it's going to be either 11 or Will, either Jonathan or Steve, and then maybe a third wild card of Murray, who I'm less confident after seeing Volume 1 just because he wasn't as involved.
Yeah, and I'm not sure.
I think there's an outside chance of someone like Dustin as well, given where he's at, and maybe if he's put in a situation where him and Steve are in a precarious situation, he doesn't want to see his other older friend and hero die. And, they've been building up tension between them in Volume 1. Maybe that's for a big payoff, an emotional moment like that. That's kind of something I'm thinking. Though, I don't see them killing 2 kids, personally. I don't see them killing, 11 or Will and Dustin. I think it's only going to be, 1 from each age group. Maybe that's too predictable, but I just don't think they're going to go that much bloodshed.
Because I don't even that's what they said in an interview. They said their goal is not to, kill everyone off.
Yeah. They said they don't want to kill people off just to kill it off. They want to do it if it feels correct.
There was no confirmed, deaths, I don't think. I mean, they're hinting, and all the actors and actresses were there's definitely going to be someone who dies.
If there isn't, I will be disappointed. I'll say that. They can't go through all these seasons and
exactly. I want everyone to live, but there has to be now. Here's what's going to be even crazier. The big death is going to be a sacrifice, but imagine if the Mind Flayer, imagine the Mind Flayer was literally in physical form and it just stabbed through someone.
Yeah.
Now, a death like that would actually be be oh wow.
Yeah.
Killing a main character so casual like the soldiers, to me, that would be crazy. Like,
That, and see, I'm like a weirdo. Like, I like stuff you don't expect, so I would actually like that. I mean, I want the great, like, heroic sacrifice, of course, as one of the deaths, but I think it would be like a historic moment if one of the characters, just got like gruesomely killed. I mean,
like
I
that,
feel weird saying that, but
No,
like
I get
within
it.
the context of it being a TV
because
show,
it brings it like
makes it feel real.
it makes it feel real, and it will make it feel like wow. And I guarantee you, like, no one would stop talking about it if they did. It's the Duffers. I mean, look at someone like Bob in season 2. He wasn't really a main character, but the way he died, yeah.
Yeah, he became a main character.
Billy.
Though. Yeah, Billy. So, yeah, there's been a lot of deaths. Obviously, the criticism with the show is that most of them are short-term characters. I guess Billy, at that time, had been in 2 of the 3 seasons.
I mean, look at Eddie getting eaten alive by bats.
Yeah.
That was
That was sad.
That was pretty sad to see. Now, something like that made me go, oh my gosh, he's not. Like, something in the moment of seeing a character, like, I think it might happen, actually, if the Mind Flayer comes in, like, the spider form, or if the Thessal Hydra is real, some giant creature's going to come in. I do think we're going to see, like, someone just, like, being like, oh, guys, I saved you, and then just get impaled. Like, I feel like something like that might happen.
Yeah. That would make the stakes feel real for sure. Another question I have here, in terms of big questions at the end of the show is, what do you think Max's return looks like? Now, there's the episode 6 is titled Escape from Camazotz, and that was discussed with Holly, and I think that's going to be the episode they attempt to escape, of course. But what do you think it's going to like look like, and what do you think Max's, like, when she returns to her physical body, which, like I said, I think has to happen, or it was all pointless to bring her back. I don't know. Is she just going to be like her regular self? Is she going to have any, like, intel about Vecna? Is she going to have, like, slight powers? That's something I always thought was possible, but now with how many people with powers they have, I kind of doubt it more.
I feel like she won't have powers. I feel like the only reason Will does is because Mind Flayer particles.
Yeah.
And Henry, for shadow reference.
Yeah.
Henry particles. But anyways, I feel like Sadie, as you can see in the trailer, one thing we haven't seen is the demo dogs with Lucas carrying Max's body.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she's going to be escaping, and Lucas is going to have to be saving her. And after, like, Lucas saves her, because I don't really think, like, those two are going to die, I do feel like there's going to be a moment where he's with Max alone, and eventually she's just going to snap, and then she'll remember everything, and she'll be an asset because she'll know memories, which, for instance, they have 8 now who has manipulation powers, who can make people see. So if she finds out what Henry's biggest fear is, which, for instance, the cave,
she could relay that information.
She can use it against him because everyone has a fear, and that's one thing Vecna, if they can weaken him right there, it's another thing.
And that's something Stranger Things does too. I mean, they're going to have everybody contribute in a way. So once Max comes back, obviously it'll just be grateful to have her back. It'll be a good emotional impact for the characters in the audience. But how will they make her useful? Yeah, maybe providing that type of insight into what Henry's fears are to someone like 8 who can take advantage of that.
Exactly. Now, we want to talk about character deaths. This is one thing that I thought is going to happen even before the season came around. I honestly wouldn't mind if this happened. It'd be definitely like, wow. Just to show how powerful this thing is. Say Vecna's the big bad, and I want Vecna to, like, there be a point where the Mind Flayer takes physical form and we see this massive thing, whatever the heck the creature's going to look like. I'm interested to see it. I want to see Vecna being like, oh, the power's mine, being like a moment where he thinks he's won in control. And I want to see the Mind Flayer finally just, like, literally demolish. Like, I feel like the Mind Flayer might literally kill him.
So you think there's a chance that our characters, which their whole goal is to, take out Vecna, you think it could happen from a different source?
I literally think when Vecna realizes, like, he's been used, which I think he's going to find out, that he's just a puppet, instance master of puppets, I genuinely think that the Mind Flayer, it's literally, like, it's necessarily a god because it's, I don't know, it's particles, but we don't really know too much about it. It's another form of life that's very powerful.
Yeah.
And if it gave people powers, I'm just saying, when Vecna finds out that he's not in control, I literally think that he's literally going to have a gruesome death. And honestly, I feel like that'd be a good impact on the show. Or something like that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Whether he kills someone or... I just feel like having that creature kill Vecna just shows like, wow, he really was just a puppet.
Yeah. Maybe that will be the case, and maybe that's why, a couple indications have been that Vecna's a slightly misunderstood villain. Once again, I'm not really in favor of him being having redeeming qualities, but I think it's possible at this point. Couple other things to cover here before we go out. Let's go out on a little higher of a note. Do you think that, first off, I guess I'll say, do you think Max's letters that she wrote in season 4, think there'll be any revisiting of that? You know how she wrote letters to people because she thought she was going to die? Think we'll ever get to see what she wrote? Or do you think that's kind of left in the past at this point?
I think there's going to be a very important message, and it's going to be about Lucas.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, obviously, if she died, I think they would have brought that. So it'll be interesting to see that. Do you think Lucas and Max will get their movie date?
I do.
Epilogue.
I hope I see Jim Hopper and Joyce.
That's what I was going to ask
Enzo's.
next. At Enzo's, yep.
Now, here's what is making my mind think. Talking about the end.
Mm.
In a D&D campaign, the characters never return to their home.
Mm.
They go somewhere else. Where
Is that what Mike said in
Yeah.
episode 1, by the way? Yeah.
So, if they're going to return to being honest, I would be okay if they said, we lived through Hawkins, it's time to leave it in the past, and all the characters go somewhere totally different. I'm in favor of that. But
Yeah.
if they stay because the evil's finally gone, okay. But again, the fact that Mike said that, I think...
Yeah.
I don't think they would just say that. I don't know.
I agree. Yeah. I honestly don't care what they do after they beat Vecna and the Mind Flayer maybe.
Yeah.
Just leave or stay, whatever. Just beat the evil. So it's kind of what I think. But I don't know. Anything else pressing? Any other pressing matter you want to talk about here before we wrap it up?
I mean, there's one last theory that I don't believe in because I would be actually kind of very disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
The theory of, I'm sure you heard, it was all just a game.
Oh, the writers have already denounced that one.
Yeah, the writers, people who keep bringing that up, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Because if they were to do that, I feel like the show would have went totally different.
Oh, it would be ruined and it would cheapen everything that happens.
Oh my, I would be actually so
I'd be disgusted.
I would
I'd be
actually
I
be
spent
disgusted.
so much time making these videos the last year of my life for this stupid ending.
I would just be like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one way I could go, but
Yeah.
god.
Oh gosh,
Anything
man.
but that. I'd rather see Vecna and them just literally take over the world.
Yeah. For real, that would at least go against my expectations.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting that. So
Exactly.
all right, one last theory here. I know I keep extending this, but I will say somebody had a really interesting theory in my live the other night. So credit to this person. I don't remember their name, but this isn't my original thought this time. And I don't know if I'm going to explain it perfectly. And they had a lot more details than I'm going to provide here. But essentially, they think that Terry Ives, Elle's mom, is Henry Creel's sister.
I heard that.
Okay. There were a lot of dots that connected. One of the points they made is that, the lights start flickering as a result of Terry's actions before Eleven does anything when she goes to visit her. And, she was signaling Eleven seemingly with her own abilities, or I don't know how that all worked.
If that actually happened, it would actually put me in shock because I don't think that's the case. But here's the thing. Henry's blood was infused. It was different. That's how he has his powers.
Uh-huh.
I think it has to do with the Mind Flayer. I know that. But I think, here's my question. Henry, obviously DNA had to be infused with Eleven's real mom.
Yeah.
But did that make her have powers? Or is she actually... But I thought Vecna's little sister for sure was
Yeah, I feel like she was dead as well. But they said she slipped into a coma, which is this show's way of keeping people alive, low-key, with Ted Wheeler and Max. They said she slipped into a coma.
That would be crazy. And
so that means that would make Henry Eleven's aunt, or uncle, sorry. That would make Henry Eleven's uncle. So that would be a good twist, I guess. But once again, I don't think we need more complexity to this. I'm fine with them just being separate and
they have
evil versus good.
Exactly. They have their history.
Yeah.
Now, there is another thing I was going to say. Oh, now, love is one big key in this whole story that beats the evil. Like good memories, basically
Friendship,
love.
yeah.
How love beats all. Well, in a sense of, there was a theory from not to bring up another theory, but first shadow, let's just say there was a point where Henry had a affection for someone. I don't want to spoil it, but basically someone said, I think she's still alive, but if she came back, but I doubt, like, that is a huge stretch. But for instance, I think I don't really know about changing Vecna, like that theory earlier about changing Vecna into good. I feel like because if he is possessed, he's literally a puppet. So you're not going to, like, I literally think if he does say turn to good, he's going to die no matter what. He's going to literally, like, I think the Mind Flayer is literally just going to, like.
Huh. Interesting. I don't know, but it's going to be quite the ride here in volumes 2 and 3.
I'm ready for it.
That's all I know. Me too. So, yeah, guys, to summarize, we both, I think, liked Volume 1 very well. I have, a couple gripes with it, maybe a couple more than Joey, but overall, I think it was really good. Hoping for some better, like, interpersonal moments moving forward, but the plot, of course, is as epic and just crazy as ever, which is exactly what we'd expect. But as you can tell from all our theorizing and questions we're asking, there's a lot to be answered and desired from the rest of the show, and so I'm hoping they can wrap it up in a satisfactory way. So
completely agree, and I cannot wait to see Volume 2, and it's nice because after that, we only got a week.
Yep, facts.
Not a month.
And we're both seeing it in theaters, so.
Exactly. Go see it in theaters if you can.
If you want.
Yeah, if you want.
Yeah. All right, well, thanks for joining me today, Joe.
Thank you for having me.
Finally had a special guest, and yeah, hope everybody enjoys Season 5. Like I said earlier, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers here before the end of the year. It's looking like maybe unrealistic goal at this point, but
please
still
subscribe.
hoping for it. Yep. All right, see you guys. Peace out.